We have audio, we're good? Check, hello, hello. Hello? Are we good? Hello? Hello, hello? 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 Sounds good? Go ahead and start. All right. So hello, everybody. My name is Blake Garner. I'm a senior systems engineer with Adobe. We're going to talk about VMware vCloud Director and our experiments at using Mac OS X as a guest. And using a Sony Vaio here. So, there we go. So Apple has some interesting requirements around virtualization. They're a hardware company. They want you to run their operating system on their hardware. So you're limited to those pieces of equipment, which used to be an Xserve, which they discontinued, and it used to be a nice big cheese grater Mac Pro, which is also on the way out the door. So if you're going to do this, right now your choice is a Mac Mini, and then coming up in the near future is the little trash can, or as I like to call it, the Mac Tube. The other requirement is that you run, obviously, an Intel version of OS X, and OS 10.6 server is really the oldest version you can get away with. The licensing for OS X is also kind of complicated. I'm sure many of you read the iTunes EULA a couple times. The OS X one's similar, maybe not quite as long. The main limitation, other than running on Apple hardware, is that you can only run 2 VMs at a time per physical box. So that really kind of cuts into your consolidation and kind of limits the use cases. So a lot of people look at that and pretty much say, oh, never mind, we're done. But we pressed on. We had a lot of use cases for build machines and other kind of critical OS X related stuff. So we kept going. And so we've been running ESXi on Mac Pros with fiber channel storage and 10 gig Ethernet as a pilot, just to see how it would work. ESX itself works great. It's able to detect that you're on Apple hardware and boot OS X without issues. If you try and do this on non-Apple hardware, it'll detect that and not allow. And you can check the internet for workarounds on that, but that's up to you. VMware Tools also works and is fairly well supported. It's, most of the VMware Tools work has come from the desktop products like Fusion, but it supports decent graphics refresh. We found no issues with that. Storage and networking drivers are totally not an issue. So once you have the operating system up and running on ESX, you can build out a template. What we found works best is to actually boot the virtual machine from installation media and then restore down one of your existing Mac OS images. If you're a shop like us, we have tons of pre-built, never been booted images, so we went ahead and just leveraged those, restored those into an empty virtual machine, and then saved them off. And that works great. You can do the traditional install, but if this is something you're considering, you probably already have images made, and it's pretty easy to reuse those. And then when it comes to vCloud itself, there's kind of one real big gotcha right now today, which is guest customization. And that's a process where usually, like in Windows, sysprep would be fed a lot of information about the machine name, the IP address, possibly some other graphics tuning settings. And after the machine is cloned, it would boot up, process sysprep, rename the machine, get it all static IP'd. Well, that stuff's not there right now. So that's where you kind of get into workarounds. And what we found is that our own images we use for lab testing on physical machines, we'd already addressed a lot of this stuff around renaming the machine and setting up user accounts and that kind of stuff. So you really got to leverage those tools to solve that problem. And then when it comes to IP addressing, we just found that the simplest solution was to use DHCP and direct connect networks. I kind of doubt there's a lot of use cases for multi-tier web applications using OS X, and that's really where the complex networking comes into play with VMware vCloud. So a direct connected Ethernet network with DHCP will get you up and running and able to test. So where are we going with this? Internally, we basically looked at the hardware and the licensing limitations and decided essentially to park this. We definitely hope Apple will change their minds about the licensing someday, maybe. My suggestion to them, if Magical Apple is listening, is how about in these nice new Mac Pros, let's open that up. Let's let you run more than just 2 virtual machines. We'll see. I'm not holding my breath on that. All right, that's pretty much all I had to share on the topic. Does anybody, any questions out there? All right, thanks.
Sorry about the